Hey everybody, welcome to Daily Revelations. We are in Esther 7 still, and I hope you're getting a lot out of this. We talked about today in the study was about Haman, this foe, this enemy, and I mentioned probably before my surgery that I was reading a book called The Necessity of an Enemy, and kind of bringing that back up in my prayers and as I was reading again through this chapter today and just looking at those things. And it made me think about how we can oftentimes call things in our lives enemies that really aren't enemies because they maybe go against what we think God should be doing in our lives or what the way we think our life should go. And really it's more of a want versus a need. But then there are those true enemies. The true enemies that God says, I have left this here because there's something that needs to be defeated. This opposition needs to be overcome in your life. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to show more glory to me. It's going to make you more dependent on me, and all of these things that come together. So I had a couple notes for myself. And I said the first thing is we have to realize what enemies are real and what really aren't enemies. They're just inconveniences. So it's good to clarify that first. So there was a lot of things that happened in Esther's life that were inconveniences. I mean, here she is thrown into this pool to become queen. That wasn't an enemy for her. That was an inconvenience. Now, we may think that that's a huge inconvenience. Yes, it is. God does allow those inconveniences in our life. And a lot of the times we make those our enemies instead of just realizing this may be not my plan, but it's God's plan. But then there are those true oppositions, those enemies, those that come against us because we are doing God's will. And when we're in God's will, we still have opposition. And we often think, well, am I not following God's will because something's coming against me? No, you are doing God's will. But the enemy knows you are doing God's will, and that's something he doesn't want. But God uses what the enemy wants for evil, for our good. And if you read through the Bible and all the stories, you hear that over and over again. We heard that, in Joseph's story when his brothers put him into captivity. And, at the end of his life, he said to him, you meant this for evil, but God used it for good, over and over again. And again, we see this in Esther. What Haman meant for evil, God is actually turning for good. And that plays out more in the story as we will go along. But thinking in our own lives, if you're opposed by something, there's two different things you have to look at. First, am I doing God's will? If I'm not doing God's will and I hit opposition, then I need to make a course correction. And it's not an enemy. It's what's in me is the enemy and needs to get under control. But if I'm doing God's will and I am getting opposed, there is the tribulation. And in John 16:33, Jesus says this, in the world, you will have tribulation. Guess what? That comes with the territory. The enemy knows you're doing my will, and he's not going to like it. But have courage. Take courage. Hold that courage close because I have overcome the world. And anything that you face that's in the way of who you are becoming, who I'm making you into, and you're in my will, it's worked out. Just trust me through this. So whatever you're going through, whatever is an opposition in your life, know that if you are in God's will, he's going to do something magnificent out of that. You just have to trust him, and you have to grab onto that courage. That was kind of my mantra through this whole cancer process is to fight forward. Just trust God. Take that courage and take that step. No matter where it takes you, God is with you. And he has been faithful every step of the way. So just want to encourage you in that and keep reading in Esther 7. I'll be back again tomorrow to talk about whatever God reveals to me then. But I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.